Welcome back. I'm Dave, if you haven't been here before, and this channel is a place to explore various threads of ideas connected to leadership. I'm really interested in courage-based leadership, a lot of Brené Brown's work. I'm really interested in psychological safety, and I'm really interested in applying the principles of minimalism to leadership, or what I call minimalistic leadership. Now, I say it like that, and obviously I did not invent fire here, but I am curious to see, how do we use minimalism to lighten our load as leaders, to lighten where we focus our attention or how we start to make sense of the world around us, particularly as leaders, right? One of the challenges I see in clients, basically in every call I have with them, is how much complexity there is in all aspects of their lives, in their work lives, particularly when they're higher up in a company, in their home lives, and their relationships with friends and family, trying to figure out, how do I balance these two or make these two really important parts of my life fit together? There's a need to make decisions and commitments around, this is what I want work to look like, this is what I want home or my personal life to look like, and these are the choices I'm going to commit to set boundaries to have the parts of those that I want. Now, this is where minimalism, I think, can be so powerful and useful. At heart, in looking at leadership through minimalism, is this question: what is essential? And its cousin, what can I reduce or let go of that isn't essential? And that's the part that I want to explore today, right? As I work with leaders, there's basically two versions of a reduction strategy that leaders can use to lighten that load of complexity. Now, the first strategy is decluttering, or really just getting rid of the extra stuff, maybe what's unnecessary, maybe what's junk. Think of decluttering your hall closet or the junk drawer in your kitchen, right? You go through there and you pull out stuff and you recognize, oh, that dog sweater. Literally, the dog has never worn this sweater. I didn't know it was in the hall closet. What a weird place to have put it. And for the record, yes, my dog does own a sweater that she has never worn except to try it on, because my daughter was very excited about it. And I'm the one that put it in the hall closet and forgot about it, but it still lives there. It has not been fully decluttered. Why? Because that sweater is joyful for my daughter. And maybe someday the dog will put the sweater on. She's not growing, the sweater's not shrinking, we've got time. The other strategy we have here is simplifying. How do we reduce down to what is most essential? Right? And that question of essentiality comes up in both decluttering and simplifying. In decluttering, I almost think of it sometimes as like brushing away the dirt. We can think of it as archaeologists, right? Brushing away the sand or the dirt that is attached to these bones that they're digging up, or these artifacts from days gone by, right? We kind of do that when we declutter our hall closet, right? We're brushing away all the extra stuff to recognize what are the treasures that we have stored in there that maybe we forgot we had, or maybe is really important to us and we want to use more. So decluttering is about brushing away everything that isn't essential. Now, one of the challenges is once we do a really good job decluttering, we may still have too much. We may still need to get down to, I have all these things, what is the most important, right? I don't want to split hairs about this idea of what's essential. I approach it this way. What is essential is a very, very small list. It is 1 to 3 things. If you have a list of more than 3 things that are essential, you've got a little more work to do, at least by my accounting. Part of the reason that it's so important to narrow that list down to what are the 1, 2, or 3 essential things here is that we have the capacity to really focus on that many things. Once we get to 4 and even 5, You can feel as your attention and your focus starts to spread. And you're gonna lose some of the connection, some of the grasp, some of the ability to really hone your focus in on 1, 2, or 3 things. And that may be where simplifying comes in to save the day, right? If I've got 10 things on a list of things that are important to me or things that I value, I go through that process of reducing and simplifying. It's not fast, it's not easy, it's not always clear. But at the end of it, when we get down to the essence of it, when we have simplified to the most essential elements, we really have open access to clarity that we didn't have when we had that longer list. You can do it at any scale, in any situation, in any relationship, in any set of goals or projects that you're trying to accomplish. And it does a wonderful job of helping us sort out what's essential, what's non-essential, and what's junk. And when it comes to decluttering, that energy is spent in identifying and separating out what is junk, what is unnecessary, what doesn't deliver on meaning, fulfillment, or joy, what isn't a good use of your time, energy, or mental bandwidth, right? It may promise these things, but never deliver adding value to what you do and how you do your work as a leader. And then we are going to be left with essential and non-essential. And there may be more decluttering to do between either or both of those columns. But just the action of getting rid of the junk is huge, heavy lifting in this space. Those extra meetings that you're attending as a leader to try and support your team that aren't actually useful for you to attend. It's not a good use of your time. And then you don't have other time to spend with your team or on the projects that matter. Those meetings themselves, it may be important that there's representation from your team, but that may not need to be you. So for you, it's junk. It's not actually useful, but for another team member, it might be something that's actually important that helps them grow. And thinking about simplifying, as you look across your role, I really encourage you to lean into the question, what can I reduce or let go of that's not essential? It's one way of asking the question, what is essential? Right? And in my accounting and doing this work, essential is 1 to 3 things. I'm going to say it now. I've said it before. I will say it again. It's 1 to 3 things. That's how we get to essential. And then there's the opportunity of starting to look at, if these things are essential, what can I reduce and let go of that isn't these 3 things? How can I focus and attune more of my energy and time on these 3 things, or 1 or 2? It truly could be one thing. Now, in leadership roles, your organization might have thoughts. If you're like, there's one thing in my role that's essential, you might get notes. But let's call it 3 for sake of simplicity. So how do you then start to take your calendar with those 3 things in mind and look at your calendar and say, what can I reduce or let go of that's not these things, right? It's this act of setting clear, productive boundaries around what is essential. Why? Because the things that are essential are the things that you have the most talent, gift, and ability to contribute with and through. You can think of that list of essential as your core mandate as a leader. You as a leader are giving back through these 3 essential things. And what you give back will have most impact through these essential things. Now, if you look at your list of 3 essential things and you can't say that those are the things that help you contribute and have the most give or impact back to your organization, then it might be an opportunity to interrogate, are those really the 3 essential parts of your job or your role as a leader? So I offer this video in part because I know this process can be a little confusing at first. How am I going to be a minimalistic leader? And step 1 is just to look for the opportunities to declutter or simplify, right? When we start to do those, we work with what we currently have. And there may be something in the future that we need that's going to make us more successful. But start with what you have where you are, with decluttering and simplifying. And then see what's left. See what might still be needed. It's a different conversation, right? Sometimes the process of decluttering or simplifying requires swapping. Right? I used the example earlier of handing a meeting over to a team member. That might be swapping for them, right? You're building up what's on their list of essential, or at the very least important. And you might take on a new thing. There may actually be a better meeting for you to be part of that has more impact, that has more utility. And so that is the promise here that you can work to realize. How do I know that I'm doing the things that matter most? Part of it is decluttering and simplifying, minimizing down where you're actually spending time and energy, especially your structured time and energy. That is powerfully important. And I want to loop back to this notion of that balance or that harmony between work and personal life, right? We have finite time on this planet. You have finite time to offer to your colleagues and finite time to offer to your family and friends. You have the energy to spend between those two areas. And maybe you've chosen a strategy of I save 10% of my very best energy for my family. I can't give them more than that. My role is demanding. My team has a lot that it needs from me. But my family is vitally important to me, and they are going to get this unadulterated, pure 10% of my best energy. Because when I do that, I build, maintain, and nurture the kinds of relationships with them that I want. Right? Because that, at the end of the day, is really the ball game, I think, with our family and friends. It's the relationship. How are we engaging? What kind of life are we making with them? How are we taking time to relate with them? So, some thoughts on starting to look at these two strategies of reducing, decluttering and simplifying. I'd love to know your thoughts, so please add some comments below. I'm always open to questions and critiques. I'm still working through this myself and with my clients, and I know there are things that I don't see. So if you're seeing a thing I'm not seeing, please let me know. And as always, if you like the content, please subscribe and hit the like button. If you think this might be useful for a colleague or friend, pass it along. More are always welcome. One of my core values is generosity, and there is always space at my table.